The future is awesome.
Hey Futurists, it's me, Miss Metaverse, and welcome back to P2P. I've got a great show for you today. Joining me from Brooklyn, New York is filmmaker David Alvarado. David and his co-director, Jason Sussberg, recently released their first feature-length film called The Immortalists. It's a documentary that follows renowned transhumanist and biologist Bill Andrews and Aubrey de Grey. So David, tell us about The Immortalists.
Yeah, sure. Well, it was a project that Jason and I got started back in 2010. And we were just, we've always been science geeks, really interested in the future. And when we found this community of people in the Bay Area that thought that they could crack the code of aging and, hack the human body and sort of get things out of it that we hadn't imagined before, Jason and I were just totally fascinated. And a little bit skeptical at first even, and of course, as you should be. And when we got to know everybody and got to learn about what the whole deal was, it was just fascinating. And we knew right away we needed to make a film about it. And so that became a film that was released back in 2014, The Immortalists, and we couldn't be more proud of it.
Yeah, and it just recently came out on Netflix too, right?
That's right. It's on the new releases carousel on Netflix, and it seems to be doing okay. And if your viewers like it, they should go and post about it. They should post reviews. If they hate it, they should post reviews. Please just interact with the film, see if you like it for yourself.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask you, this is awesome future TV. We are talking about the future all the time, and I just want your opinion. Where do you think we're headed as far as this whole transhumanist movement? Do you believe, having spent time with Aubrey de Grey and Bill Andrews, I mean, they're huge names in the transhumanist community. And I want to know, what did you take away from it? Do you really think that maybe our millennial generation might live to see 500 years or 1,000 years?
Yeah, well, there's a couple questions in there. I mean, where are we headed with transhumanism? I mean, I feel like it's already here, and the way that the community understands it, the way that you and I are talking right now, I'm looking at you, you have headphones on, I have contact lenses on, I'm in a house built by technology, we're communicating through technology. I mean, I'm not saying anything new here, but I just feel like what the things that the transhumanist community is talking about is just an extension of what we're doing right now. There's nothing new or different about it. There's just going to be developing technology that to people today seem very magical. But I mean, just 20 years ago, people weren't using cell phones the way they do. So, I just think it's a given that things are going to change so radically as time goes on that we are just going to become more and more armed machines. And there's no reason to fear that. In and of itself. But yeah, as far as life extension, will we live to be 1,000? I have no clue. I mean, it would have been difficult to predict when heavier than air craft took off before the Wright brothers did it successfully. I mean, predictions are just so difficult. And I don't know what to say about that. But I do wish. I mean, honestly, for myself, if I could live to be 1,000 healthily, I would do it. So. I know I'd prefer it, but I have no idea when it's going to happen, and if it is even possible.
So, having spent so much time with Aubrey and Bill, what do you feel like is the major differences between their philosophies on transhumanism?
It's funny. Aubrey, when he first came out in the public, was very willing to say, 1,000-year-old human, we're going to do it. It's going to happen soon. Bill is still saying that. Very much believes it's possible. It's just about funding to Bill. It's not about how long it takes science to work. Aubrey's since changed his tune, and maybe that is because he has learned something about how science works and granting, or maybe it's because just how he himself chooses to relate his opinions to the public. So it's actually kind of hard to tell. If I had to guess, I'd say that they're both very sincere about what they're doing and what they're saying. But they definitely differ in substance with regard to the science. I mean, obviously, Bill is very interested in telomeres, and Aubrey's very interested in his SENS approach. So there's a lot of differences, but there's a lot of similarities as well.
What is your vision of being post-human?
Yeah, well, the only technology that works, and again, this is not a new idea, the only technology that works are technologies that work for us and fit within human nature, right? So if you build a phone that's clunky and difficult to work and frustrates you, emotionally, you're not going to use it. So the only technology that's going to advance is that fits into our world and our human nature, and that's the only stuff that's going to go forward. I think that's a given. So necessarily, if humans are creating technology, it's going to become more like us, and then we're going to interact with it more and adapt it more. So, what that looks like, though, is hard to predict again.
Definitely. So where can we find your movie, The Immortalist? What is the website?
Well, you can go to theimmortalist.com. You can check out the great reviews, for a film about the future and life extension. It's gotten some excellent notoriety, New York Times, LA Times. It's really great to have this conversation happening at that level. So if you want to promote that, if you want to be a part of that conversation, engage us on social media and watch the film and share the film and talk about it to your friends.
All right, thank you so much. All right, so yes, now is the time that I've been waiting for. You are doing a movie about Bill Nye, the Science Guy.
Bill. Yeah, it's great. Jason and I both, we didn't know each other, but when we were kids, we both watched the show, and we just loved the guy's personality. Even as a filmmaker, the guy's very interesting. I mean, it was sort of psychotic. Like if you go back and watch the show as an adult, you kind of forgot since then. But go watch it on Netflix. It's available right now, and you'll see. I mean, it's like Pee-wee's Playhouse. It's just like all over the place. He'll zip around the world in a moment, and then you understand what he's trying to communicate. You get excited about the science and the language of the format. That's just like totally fascinating. And so for us, it caught our attention, and I have to say it must be a big part of why we both care about science and the future, technology. And that's probably true for millions of people in English-speaking countries, younger than 35. So I think that Jason and I both believe that because that's true, he deserves a film examining who he is, trying to see what he's doing now, what is he doing for technology in the future right now, and how can we as technologically interested, scientifically literate people do to support and help his task.
Right. So, and what was it like reaching out to Bill? I mean, you guys must have been nervous. I know I would have been totally blown away because he inspired us so much growing up.
The funny thing is, I first met Bill by accident. We had the world premiere of The Immortalists at South by Southwest in Austin. I was walking down the street with my publicist at the time, and he just walked right by us, and I was just like, holy crap, that's Bill Nye the Science Guy. And my publicist, as smart as she is, said, go talk to him. Why aren't you talking to him? You do films about science. He does, films about science. Go engage him. And so I ran up to him, and we had these koozies. Do you know what a koozie is? It's this little padded device that you put on a beer to keep it cool. We had these Immortalist branded koozies. And I ran up to him and said, hey, Bill, if you like beer, here's a koozie. It's for my film, The Immortalist, which is about two scientists who want to reverse the aging process. And he looked at it and said, this looks very cool, very cool. So we engaged there for a minute, and then he had to run off. But it wasn't until a month or two later when Jason and I were in Toronto showing the film when we realized, like, well, wait a minute, like, the next project's got to be bigger than this project. It's got to be super socially relevant. And of course, it has to be about science and technology. Who can that be? And it just dawned on us at once. We said we have to do a film about Bill Nye the Science Guy. So from there, we started to engage his publicist, and the rest is history.
Wow, that is so exciting. And so now you have a Kickstarter campaign, and you're going after a pretty large sum of money. But I understand it. This is Bill Nye the Science Guy, and there's a lot of work involved with filmmaking, and a lot goes into it. So could you maybe explain for some of us who might not understand, why would you need $650,000 for a Kickstarter campaign?
Totally. Well, because this is an independent film, Jason and I, we dumped our money entirely, just blood, sweat, and tears into The Immortalists. Barely made it. We raised through investments and grants over $400,000 on it, and this is the standard cost. A lot of people don't realize how much a documentary costs. And the editing, the music, the licensing especially, all this stuff is just astronomically high. And so most documentaries do cost around this much. But the thing is, people usually write grants or they do corporate sponsorships, And for Jason and I, you have a show about the future. I know how much you care about it. And for us, when we imagine the future of filmmaking, we imagine a world where the people get to decide what films are made and how they're made. You know, we don't want a corporate sponsor to be raining money down on us and expecting us to deliver them a certain product that's outside of our vision for what we want for the film. Instead, we want to build a community of people who want to see the same thing, who want to see a film about Bill Nye, and we want to have the control there. And so for us, it's sort of a landmark for independent film. If we can raise this money, then it'll be one of the first, you know, full-budgeted documentary films funded on Kickstarter, which is really exciting.
Wow, that is really exciting. So, and the campaign's going on until August 13th, right?
Mm-hmm. So we're about 35% of the way to our goal, almost halfway through the goal. We remain both confident and scared shitless because, as you know, with Kickstarter, if you don't get your full goal, you don't get any of it. So all the funds are returned to the potential donors if we don't reach the full goal, the full funding of the film. People did caution us to do less, but we feel like this is the right film to make history with. And it's really actually encouraging to see the posts that people are doing, especially women in science who have come to engineering, math, science. They've come to it because, in part, Bill showed them how amazing those things are when they were children. And so I feel like the community is strong enough and emotionally involved enough to really see the value of what this can do on the world stage.
All right, so where can we find more information about the Bill Nye film? How can we support? What can we do to make this a reality?
You can go to BillNyeFilm.com, or you can go to Kickstarter, search for Bill Nye. All of our hashtags, you know, all of our handles is just Bill Nye Film, so you can find us just about anywhere with that handle.
Great. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. David, you are a rock star. So excited to see your next movie. And is there anything else you want to share before we go?
Yeah, I would say if you care about the future and if you care about technology and the future of human civilization, our art has to reflect that concern. And cinema, documentary, these are things that can live in the memory of people and societies at large for a long time. And to create a document at this time in history of when we were developing new technologies and technology was beginning to develop new cultures and communities, I think Bill Nye is a great person to capture a lot of that sentiment. And so for me, supporting this film and creating this film is very much about securing this moment in time in human history.
That was fantastic. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And we are all with you. We're all here supporting you, and I can't wait to see this film.
The future is awesome.